Hello, and welcome to What Makes America Tick. I'm your host, Congressman Troy Carter, and I proudly represent the best place in the country, Louisiana's 2nd Congressional District. Join me as we dive into an engaging conversation to ask the question, what makes America tick? We are so happy today to be joined by the Honorable Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, Democratic leader in the United States House of Representatives. Leader Jeffries represents the 8th Congressional District in New York, hails from Brooklyn, and is currently serving in his 7th term in the United States Congress. Leader Jeffries is the highest-ranking Democrat in the House of Representatives. He is also the former chair of the Democratic Caucus, whip of the Congressional Black Caucus, and previously co-chaired the Democratic Policy and Communications Committee. Leader Jeffries is a tireless advocate for social and economic justice. He has worked hard to reform our criminal justice system, improve the economy for everyday Americans, and protect our health care from right-wing attacks. Leader Jeffries' legacy in Congress demonstrates an unwavering commitment to public service and a dedication to improving the lives of everyday Americans. We're honored to have him with us today. Please welcome to the show my dear friend, my fraternity brother, Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Welcome, brother.
Great to be with you.
It is such an honor to have you here on What Makes America Tick, and we know that you very much are a part of that formula of what makes America tick. As we embark on this great challenge that our country is facing, we've never seen an attack on our democracy. We've never seen an attack on our rule of law as we're seeing now. These are unprecedented times. And you often, and we've often repeated the 3 C's, the Congress, the courts, and the community. You, as the chief strategist, Democratic leader, have demonstrated an uncanny ability to navigate between very challenging times to still get things done. Share with us, particularly for the people who hear us talk about a discharge petition. You know, we're often guilty of talking language, CR, discharge petition, reconciliation, things that people hear, they don't really know what we're talking about. Let's use this moment to kind of demonstrate what is, in fact, a discharge petition. And we know this was no small feat, and you've done it at least twice during this Congress.
Well, once again, it's great to be with you. Appreciate your friendship, your leadership, partnership as we navigate, these challenging times. On behalf of the people that we're privileged to represent, the country and indeed the free world, our values we know have been under assault from the extremism that this administration continues to unleash day after day after day. So as you indicated, our fight is all hands on deck. It's the Congress, it's the courts, and it's the community. And in the Congress, House Democrats, of course, are narrowly in the minority. When we're both at full strength, 220 Republicans, 215 Democrats, that's a 3-seat majority that Republicans have. Narrowest in the modern history of the Congress, going all the way back to 1930 to find one that was smaller. And yet, the House is still a majority-run institution. And so there are very limited vehicles available to the minority to be able to force up or down votes on the floor. But the one vehicle that is available is that if we are able to get 218 signatures from members of Congress connected to what we call discharging a piece of legislation to the floor, then over the objection of the Speaker, we can actually force the chamber to vote on a bill. And we've now been successful in this Congress actually 3 different times in forcing an up or down vote that was then successfully passed out of the House chamber. First, requiring the release of the Epstein files, which the President and Speaker Johnson resisted for months. We got 218 signatures on a discharge petition, forced an up or down vote, and then the bill passed in a near unanimous fashion in the House, unanimously in the Senate. Donald Trump was forced to sign it into law. And then after that, we were able to get 218 signatures on a discharge petition to force a vote on a bill that vacated a Trump executive order which stripped away collective bargaining rights for more than 1 million federal employees. And Democrats were joined in that instance by 20 different Republicans ultimately on the up or down vote that passed that bill to wipe out one of Trump's worst executive orders. And that's saying a lot because a lot of them have been issued during this Congress. And then finally, of course, earlier this year, we were successful in a discharge petition to force an up or down vote on a straightforward 3-year extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits. When the bill was forced to the floor, 17 Republicans joined every single House Democrat to pass that bill and send it over to the Senate so we can do our part to protect the health care of more than tens of millions of Americans who are facing dramatic increases. And now we got to finish the job in the Senate.
And the significance of that is multifold. One is in this hyper-partisan time, it is no small feat that you were able to navigate and to get 17 Republicans to join in something that has been as divisive, an issue that shouldn't be. Because we're talking about health care, we're talking about providing benefits for working people, small business owners. We often talk about small business owners being the backbone of our community, yet here's an opportunity to demonstrate to small business owners that they matter and that we're going to continue to fight for them. And until you very strategically and very surgically were able to navigate this, it was dead on arrival. Many said this was a waste of time.
Yeah, there are a lot of folks who argued that Republicans would never allow a vote on the floor of the House. Throughout the 43-day government shutdown, where Donald Trump and Republicans shut the government down because as Democrats we refused to support any partisan spending bill that they were putting forward that would continue to gut the health care of the American people, which they've been doing since the moment that Donald Trump was sworn back in as president. But we stayed clear-throated and steady and committed to the effort to make sure we were protecting the health care of everyday Americans. And as you pointed out, Troy, tens of millions of Americans, working class Americans, middle class Americans, small business owners, veterans, everyday Americans rely upon the Affordable Care Act tax credits to be able to afford to go see a doctor when they need one. And so we stayed on the course, stayed committed to getting it done, and we were able to get it done. And now we've got to put the pressure on the Senate to do their part to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. But I think a lot of people were skeptical because the Affordable Care Act was first passed under the leadership of President Obama, Speaker Pelosi, Jim Clyburn, and others at the time in 2010. Up until this point, a Republican has never cast a vote in favor of the Affordable Care Act, but that changed this year when 17 joined us to get it out of the House and to keep this effort alive.
And we have said very clearly, you in your negotiations, us as a body, if you think that the ACA has flaws, bring us an alternative.
Yeah.
Don't summarily throw out all of the resources for the American people, Republican and Democrat. Offer us an alternative. Bring us something better. Let's amend it. Let's modify. Let's figure out how we can tweak it. But heretofore, all they can find is they don't like the name, Obamacare.
Yeah.
They don't like the chief architect, Barack Obama, and are willing to cut their noses off to spite their own face just because even though they know, as evidenced by the 17 that had the courage to step forward and countless others who were grateful that it passed even though they didn't have the courage to vote for it.
And these people have been player-hating on Barack Obama for 18 years. At what point, I mean, is it clear that you've got to move on, right? I mean, there's a clinical intervention that is necessary with some of these folks, beginning with the current president.
He would have to first figure out how to evict Barack Obama, who's renting space permanently in his head.
Well, that is clear. I mean, the brilliance, the eloquence, the patriotism of President Obama and Michelle Obama clearly haunt this guy because he's the exact opposite in every possible way. But what's so bad about it all, their obsession with Barack Obama, as you pointed out, Troy, that even when they would undermine the health and the well-being of their own constituents because they just can't bring themselves to support the Affordable Care Act, and in this instance, the tax credits, they're willing to do so. And, you know, this is one of the reasons why I think Republicans are falling apart completely. As you know, most recently, in that special election for Louisiana House seat, where Donald Trump apparently won the district, I think it was by 13 or 14 points. 13 points, Democrat won by 24. This is an extraordinary overperformance. We thought Texas was something, right, and that was a 31-point overperformance. And then here comes Louisiana and tops that with a 37-point overperformance. These people are way on the run right now because they're failing the American people.
Because I think the message is getting out there, and the message is when you abandon the rule of law, you abandon our Constitution, you abandon our country. 1787, somewhere thereabout, Benjamin Franklin was leaving the Constitutional Convention and was asked, Mr. Franklin, what kind of government do we have? And he quickly responded, a republic, if we can keep it. If we can keep it. That question still begs today. We know that if we can keep it, but the fragility of our Constitution, the fragility of our democracy is real. And never more have we seen it than with this administration. The arc of justice bends, but it bends with effort, not on its own.
That's right. And it's so appropriate that you would raise that, of course, famous Benjamin Franklin observation, because people might say, why would Dr. Franklin express at that moment in time, triumphant moment, 1787, had just defeated the world's biggest superpower, Great Britain. Why would Ben Franklin express such skepticism about the future of all of us keeping this thing together, a republic if you can keep it? I think it's because everything that was done, to your point, Troy, in that convention hall, checks and balances, separate and co-equal branches of government, the independent judiciary, the preeminence of the rule of law, of course, the commitment to the free and fair press, all of those values, all of those ideas, all of those institutions created in 1787 had never before been put together in one form of government. And so I think Dr. Franklin was skeptical. The framers were uncertain as to whether it could be sustained. But the majesty of our democracy is that the effort has been put in year after year, decade after decade, century after century, to get us to this point, now 250 years. But of course, with this unrelenting assault on the American way of life, on our values, on our republic, on the democracy itself, on our decency that we're seeing from Donald Trump, the Republicans in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, I think it's appropriate to once again ask that question. We've created a republic if you can keep it. And now it falls on all of us to make sure that that question is resolved in the affirmative.
And we've seen the literal thousands, tens of thousands, people taking to the street with their No Kings marches, which plays perfectly to what Dr. Franklin was saying. No kings. We don't have a king. We don't have a queen. We don't have a monarch. We have a democracy of the people, by the people, if you can keep it.
That's right.
Which is another one of those questions, what makes America tick? What makes America tick are people like you, people in the community, people that go out and they organize, people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired, to quote Fannie Lou Hamer, to demonstrate that this democracy does not operate on autopilot.
That's right.
It requires intervention. It requires activism. It requires people voting, people paying attention, people being at not only the ballot box, but to also be in the town hall meetings, to be at the conventions, to weigh in, to speak, to talk. And certainly your leadership across the country, as we know you travel nearly every week, somewhere when we're not in session, advancing the importance of our democracy and protecting it for all people, which is a very unique twist. Because when Democrats fight for Democrats, we don't say we only fight for Democrats. We fight for Democrats, but we fight for America. And we fight for all people, fairness and justice for all. Let's pivot a little bit, if we can, to Black History Month.
Yeah.
We know that Black History Month was founded by Dr. Carter G. Woodson 100 years ago to honor the accomplishments of Black Americans. Why is this so important now? And we often hear people say, well, 28 days, the shortest month of the year. And my response to that is Black History Month is just a moment to highlight what we should celebrate and know 12 months out of the year, 365 days a year, 52 weeks out of the year, because Black History Month, Black history is very much American history.
That's absolutely right. Black history is American history. We've been part of this journey, having first arrived on these shores in shackles, enslaved Africans, in 1619. And so we've been here, of course, north of 400 years. African Americans having fought in every single military conflict, beginning with the American Revolution all the way through to the most recent conflicts, of course, in Afghanistan and Iraq, having shed blood, of course, sweat and tears for the American ideal, having always loved America, even in instances when America hadn't loved us, particularly as a result of the enslavement that occurred for more than 200 years. But African Americans, of course, the struggle is important, and Black History Month allows us to reflect on the struggle, where we've been, so we have an understanding of where we need to go. But the contributions, I think, even more significant, because that's often underappreciated. African American scientists, inventors, doctors, engineers, entrepreneurs, having contributed in incredible ways. An African American, of course, invented the traffic light. An African American invented the technology that is used to this very day for dry cleaning. We know an African American invented the cotton gin, accelerating the pace of industrialization. We know that an African American invented the technology that continues to be used to this day in our smartphones. African American invented the technology used in modern day elevators. And of course, an African American was involved in inventing the technology that allows for refrigeration and air conditioning. And those are just a few of the highlights of the contributions of what African Americans have been able to do, even under the most challenging and difficult circumstances. And so Black history is American history. And in February, it gives the country the opportunity to lean in, reflect, and remember, as part of our effort to recommitment to this motto of E pluribus unum, out of many, one. We're a gorgeous mosaic here in this country of people from all across the world. And the African American community, of course, is an important part of that.
And here we are on the cusp of our 250th year anniversary of our country. Yet we still have firsts. I was blessed to have enjoyed several firsts. First member of the House of Representatives, first member of the State Senate, to be African American, first New Orleans City Council member for the district I represented, to be the first. And while that's great, being first is one thing, making sure that you're not last.
That's right.
That you're opening the doors. And you have opened many doors in your path to leadership, now being the first African American to be the leader of either the House or Senate in the 250-year history of our country. And now on the cusp of being the first African American to be Speaker of the House, something that we all are so incredibly proud of. But your path to leadership has not been a coronation, has not been a success story that happens overnight. You've worked this.
Well, I think, one of the things I've learned in my travels throughout life, and have tried to impart this on young people, is that probably one of the most significant characteristics that you can have to get you through life, from your point of departure to your point of destination, is perseverance. Because life is filled with ups and downs, with highs and lows, with peaks and with valleys. Just like when you get on an airplane, you and I do it all the time. We both were on airplanes today. You flying from New Orleans, me flying from New York to get here to Washington, D.C. It's usually the case you can't get from your point of departure to your point of destination without at some moment along the way encountering turbulence.
Yeah.
And so you've got to expect it. And certainly I've had my share of it, particularly as it relates to this political journey. I ran twice for the state assembly, lost my first 2 races, was knocked down on the ground. But then I was able to look around at others who've achieved significant success in life in any field of human endeavor. Certainly this has been the case in public service, and realize when you look closely that before they won, they often lost.
How many times did Abraham Lincoln lose?
Yeah.
A lot.
A lot. You know, it was interesting. Churchill once said, success is not final, failure is not fatal. All that matters is the courage to continue. I put it a different way. A knockdown is different than a knockout. That's the Hakeem Jeffries remix.
That's right. I like it.
But, you know, you're going to get knocked down in life, and I was twice. But I, you know, was able to pick myself back up off the ground, keep moving forward, and learn from the challenges that you encountered. Eventually won that 3rd race for a seat in the state assembly, and then that really began my public service journey. But I tell young people all the time, look, Bill Clinton, what do Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and George W. Bush have in common? Well, they all were presidents of the United States. Correct. They also all lost their first congressional race. I mean, imagine that. All 3 of them knocked down on the ground. Had they stayed there, not picked themselves up, then the country would be different right now. Certainly the trajectory that we've been on, or the historic presidency of President Obama, would have never occurred. But they had to fight through turbulence. And so all of us are going to have to fight through turbulence in different ways, and showing that perseverance is going to be important. So many different legends. John Lewis lost his first race for public office after he was a civil rights hero. In the 70s, he lost that race. And so I tell folks, don't look at the story, or don't look at the glory, look at the story.
That's right. You know, it's funny because I feel weird even saying this because I'm not nearly in the ranks of those great people that you said. But I ran for Congress twice.
Yeah.
Lost both times before ultimately winning, 3rd time being a charm.
Yeah.
But we never quit. We never give up. You keep pressing forward. And even during those interim periods where we suffered a temporary setback, we never stopped leading.
That's right.
And I tell people, you don't have to be elected to lead. You don't have to be elected to stand up. Your challenge and your ability to navigate waters that transcend so many different, I mean, you've got to manage a lot of big thinkers, and I'm saying that nicely.
Manage a lot of different exuberances.
A lot of different exuberance, that's even better. But you've been able to manage that while being a strong leader that listens. And I think that's a part of the element that catapults you best to be the Speaker of the People's House, because your demonstration of a judicial temperament, a grasp of the pressing issues, and the challenge of navigating through each member's personal politics back home, it's not easy. This is not a popularity contest. This is not based on the fact that we like you, although we do. It's based on your demonstrated skill to do the job that's important, and to recognize that the People's House is just that. It's not your district anymore. It's the whole country.
Yeah. It's interesting. I learned from the great Jim Clyburn, mentor to both of us and to so many members throughout the Congress, that unity is different than unanimity, right? And from my standpoint, the goal is not to achieve unanimity. Unanimity is a cult, right? You got one cult leader, he tells you what to do, they all fall in line. Doesn't matter how bad the cult leader behaves, they all fall in line. That's unanimity. But in the People's House, what we strive for on the Democratic side is unity, operational unity, shared set of values. In this case, of course, make life better for the American people. Push back against the extremism, drive down the high cost of living, fix our broken healthcare system, clean up corruption. Shared set of values, goals, and objectives. But we can have a robust discussion about how we achieve those goals, those objectives, on behalf of the people that we're privileged to represent. have that robust discussion. But at the end of the day, and listen to everybody, because everybody in the House is a leader, sent to Congress to represent their very unique district. But ultimately, on the House Democratic Caucus side, the goal is to find the highest common denominator that allows us to move forward in unity, advance the ball, make progress for the American people. And if there's an area or two where we fall a little bit short, live to fight another day.
That's right. You mentioned the late, great Congressman John Lewis a moment ago. Remember the legacy of the Honorable Congressman John Lewis, and I'll quote him by saying, "My dear friends, your vote is precious, almost sacred. It is the most powerful nonviolent tool we have to create a more perfect union." One of his others that I like even more is "Good Trouble." So as we talk about Black History Month and we talk about the contributions, particularly of the body that you and I are blessed to serve in, you can't help but think about the march on the Pettus Bridge that we have done multiple times together in honor of that sacred day, painful day. And I say sacred because we know that God had to be watching in order to bring us through it to where we are today.
That's right.
You can't talk about that without talking about John Lewis. I did not have the opportunity to serve with him. He passed before I got to Congress. You had that opportunity. Although I've met him several times, nothing like actually having him in the body with you.
Yeah, it's amazing. One of the gifts for all of us, who serve in the Congress generally, and then for you and I serving in the Congressional Black Caucus specifically, is that we get to serve with living legends, of course, people that we're now serving with, like the great Jim Clyburn, the great Maxine Waters, by way of example. We served with Barbara Lee. We served with Sheila Jackson.
Yes.
Lee. I got the opportunity to serve with Charlie Rangel and John Conyers. And of course, Elijah Cummings, Eddie Bernice Johnson, John Lewis, so many different legends. But even in that group, John Lewis, of course, was so special because it was his congressional service, but we'll put him on a pedestal for all of us to continue to honor, was his service to the nation as a patriot, sacrificing himself, putting his life on the line, standing on that Edmund Pettus Bridge, fighting for the precious, sacred right to vote, which we know now is under assault, and incredibly important for us to lean in to protecting free and fair elections, protecting the right to vote, protecting the commitment that was first made by the framers of this great country, that this was going to be an exercise in self-government, of the people, by the people, and for the people, not of a king, by the king, or for the king, which is what we're watching right now. And so, in honor of John Lewis, who always told us, if you see something that's wrong, show up and stand up, speak up for what you know is right, and go out there, get into necessary trouble, good trouble, to make a difference. And that's what the American people are now being called upon to do. Yes, in the Congress, but of course in communities all across the country, to defend this thing in its 250th year.
And we see people now, which takes me to the next point that I'd like to talk to you about, is we see individuals who got in good trouble and cost them their lives because of a rogue ICE operation that has violated the rights of, in this case, 2 American citizens. Who, in my estimation, and many other law enforcement and legal professionals, were murdered in cold blood by an agency that supposedly has taken an oath of office to protect and serve. We know that this administration has deputized some of the very people that they claim to be going to arrest, who probably need to be arrested, people that were pardoned from the January 6th insurrection, where they defiled and attempted to overthrow the nation's capital, now find themselves wearing a badge, a gun, and a mask. As I often say, if you came to my house to help me, you wouldn't break in at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And so we recently had a field hearing in the city of New Orleans. Ranking member Benny Thompson, myself, Seth Magaziner from Rhode Island, and Tim Kennedy from Buffalo, New York, came in. Our mayor, our city council president, members of the city council were gracious enough to open City Hall on a day that was so inclement because of the ice and freezing. Everything was shut down.
Yeah.
But the mayor, the new mayor, who had just been sworn in just a week and a half, 2 weeks earlier, was kind enough to come join us, participate in that discussion. We had noted leaders from all over the country, all over the state rather, who are workers and advocates and thought leaders in the area of immigration, human rights, ACLU, and victims who had been challenged by ICE. We later capped that meeting by going to have a visit with one of the ICE facilities to talk about the significance of what's happening with this terror campaign in our communities, where people are being violated on a daily basis. We've seen the case where the young lady running down the block only to run into a yard, and her dad comes up and the ICE agent turns around. Why were you chasing her?
Yeah.
And why didn't you continue to question her when her pop showed up? Which is demonstrative of what's wrong with the system. We know that ICE has far overstepped. We know that we are pushing for the removal of Kristi Noem because she totally has lost the confidence of the American people in conducting what is a vigilante group of rogue officers who are wreaking havoc all over the country. And we know that as a part of that hearing, we've got a lot of good feedback from people. Happy to see Benny Thompson, who is the longest serving member on the Homeland Security Committee since its very inception.
Yeah.
And the leader who will be the leader again in just a few short months.
The once and future chair
Yes.
of the Homeland Security Committee. Well, so delighted to see his leadership, your leadership in that field hearing and helping to continue to bring to light the horrors and the abuses of what this out of control entity, ICE, under Donald Trump, has been unleashing on the American people. Taxpayer dollars should be used to make life more affordable for everyday Americans, not brutalize or kill American citizens, as we saw most recently in the horrific deaths of Renee Nicole Good and Alex Pretty. They were killed in cold blood without justification. And the American people are rightly horrified and know that ICE is out of control, needs to be reined in. Immigration enforcement in this country should actually be focused on targeting violent felons, not law-abiding immigrant families. And the American people want to see immigration enforcement that's fair, that's just, and that's humane. That's not what we're seeing right now. They know that ICE has gone way too far. And that's why our view over these next few days is that no funding bill for the Department of Homeland Security should move forward absent dramatic changes that are designed to bring about a situation where ICE is actually conducting itself like every other law enforcement agency in the country. Not a rogue group unleashing vigilante-like behavior on American citizens, American communities, and law-abiding immigrant families.
And ICE, as we know it, must go. Kristi Noem must go.
Absolutely.
We know that immigration enforcement is important. We're not suggesting that there shouldn't be some rule, there shouldn't be some process.
Yeah.
We believe in that. We do not believe in ICE
Yeah.
and the horrible work that they've done. Real quickly, in the few moments that I have left, let's talk just a little bit about Louisiana v. Calais,
Yeah.
and the decision that can come at any moment from the Supreme Court. And we know the balance, while it starts with Louisiana, and it's a part of the discussion over the 6th Congressional District that was justifiably passed to accommodate the demographics of Louisiana, and it should stay. But we know there's also a bigger picture here because it negatively impacts Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act that can have devastating impacts for our country.
Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act was enacted to provide African American communities, particularly throughout the South, with an opportunity to elect the candidate of their choice, free of voter suppression or racial oppression. And there's some in the right wing in this country who want to insist that we're in a post-racial era. Of course we're not in a post-racial era. we've seen what the president and others are doing throughout this country. And so the Voting Rights Act is alive, and we need to keep it well to ensure that our democracy, which is multiracial, can continue, and that everyone has an ability to select the member of Congress, the state senator, the state House member, city councilor, the mayor, the governor, and ultimately the president that they believe will serve the best
And
interests
this
of this
impacts
country.
not just, so people will understand, this is A, not just about Louisiana, B, this is not just about congressional seats, but we're talking about school board seats, city council seats, legislative seats.
That's right. Across the board, the Voting Rights Act was probably the most significant piece of civil rights legislation in the history of the country, and we're going to make sure we protect it.
Time goes so fast. Always great to be with you. Always fantastic. We can talk for hours and hours and hours about the great work that you're doing, the great work that needs to be done. The demonstration every day that while we have been outvoted, we have not been outvoiced, we have not been outsmarted, we continue to show up fighting for the American people every day. And under your leadership, sir, we are going to win. Thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed this episode of and want to hear more, please share with others, post it on social media, or leave a rating or a review. You can listen to past and future episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. To catch all of the latest from me, you can follow me at my official platform at Rep. Troy Carter and subscribe to my newsletter at troycarter.house.gov. Thanks again, and laissez-les bon temps rouler.